now, because the next guest is a legend. I mean legend, I mean proper legend. What a fighter, a ring genius. Marvin Hagler, he said no. Nigel Benn, he said no. Chris Eubank, he said no. Staggering, those are not lies. All three of those great middleweights, super middleweights, refused to fight this guy. It gives me the greatest of pleasure to welcome to my show Herol Bomber Graham. Herol.
Hello.
How are you? How are you, mate? Okay.
I love you.
Hey, listen, I'm not joking. I tell people that, you know, sometimes you're with boxing experts these days, Herol, whose memory only goes back 10 years. It's the truth. And they say things to me like, do you remember Herol Bomber Graham? I say, no, it's Herol Bomber Graham.
Thank you, H-E-R.
Yeah. And I say, do I remember him? I said, if you ever want to know how good Herol Bomber Graham is, ask Nigel Benn or Marvin Hagler or any of those guys what they think. Herol, first of all, before we talk a little bit about your career, what are you doing these days, Herol?
I'm doing all sorts. I'm helping my father. My father's got some houses around, so I'm helping with that. And then I'm personal trainer from Virgin. I do work for Virgin. I work for EIS, and I've got my own boxing gym as well.
Are you still in Sheffield?
Yes, I'm still in Sheffield. Yes, definitely.
Now, Herol, you had a long old career, and distinguished doesn't even cover it. Let me just tell some of the listeners, Herol fought at the top, from British level to world level, for 17 or 18 years in major fights. I consider him the greatest British boxer ever. Forget Curtin Lang. To never win a world title, I really do. Herol, let me take you back a little bit. Just close your eyes, put your feet up. Your first ever British title fight back in 1981. Yeah. Listen, I was still a teenager when you had your first British title fight.
So was I. Oh, we must be the same age.
Yeah, well, listen, there's not a lot different now. You're a couple of years older than me, I'm pleased to say. But listen, you look younger than me. Well, that first fight, that was over 15 rounds. That's how long ago it was. People have forgotten that.
Yeah, no, there were the times when the champions were true champions as well, in the sense of in the British Championship. You know, you have to fight for it.
But you weren't bitter, were you? Because you came through. You had really hard world title fights. You fought an at peak Mike McCullum, and I think and you got your tactics wrong, didn't you, that night? Let's not mince our words.
Well, it wasn't even having a attack. I spun him round, so I had a point deducted.
Yeah, that's true.
So I lost by 1 point.
And it was a split decision. And then the other one, I don't want to remind you too much about it. You'd beaten Julian Jackson, and you got caught. Luckily, that was horrible.
Everybody reminded me. I'm like, YouTube. They go onto YouTube to find out.
Yeah, well, I wish there was an interview with Marvin Hagler on there, telling people what he's told me several times. He said, I didn't want anything to do with that guy, Herol Graham. Look, a listener sent this in. Lee in Kent has said, just say hello Herol for me, Steve. He said, and can you ask him what you would have done to Michael Nunn, because at the time you were champion, British champion, you know, he was one of the world champions, and
yes, he was the world champion. Yes.
He didn't want to fight you either, did he?
No, he didn't want to fight neither. But they tried to get Brendan was trying to get a fight on at that time, but they did not want it at all. And Michael Nunn was a good guy, very good.
Yeah, nice guy.
I do respect him. I do respect him as well.
Yeah, and he's serving about 200 years for cocaine dealing, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Listen, he just fell off the track. Let me ask you this, Herol. What would be your most memorable night as a boxer? And I'm talking about pro, not your years in Nottingham as an amateur. Since 1978 when you turned pro to 1998 when you retired. I was at your last fight, sadly. Tell me what was your best night or evening?
You know, believe it or not, I think one of the best nights was Jose Says, Pat Thomas, Jose Says, and well, not Sanderland Williams, but Pat Thomas definitely, because it's the British Championship fight.
15 rounder,
Yeah, and I lost 1 point when I shared around.
Yeah, brilliant.
But that was good. And Jose Says, because he beat Errol Christie.
Smashed Errol Christie to bits, yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, everybody said, another Errol's going to go. And then the next thing is walking around in circles in the ring for some reason. And I won the fight.
You couldn't
I threw him on my back.
Listen, there were several fights where you never got touched. Let me ask you this: what was the lowest point in your boxing career?
My lowest point. Hey, don't say that. My lowest point in my boxing career is Julian Jackson
on the canvas. I know that was a joke.
That's I'm not going to go.
No. What about at the moment, Herol? Do you have any favourites in British boxing at the moment? Anyone you like?
Believe it not. There's nothing has changed really.
Yeah,
I don't know what you think, you personally, but I don't think anything has changed from the time I finished. It's as if I had the same sense or was younger and I was still boxing, I'd be world champion over again.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. I mean, I'm not just saying that because you're on the phone. You know, if anyone listening never saw Herol Bomber Graham at his peak, go and YouTube him. You know, I'm talking here. You're in a radio company tonight of a boxing genius. Listen, Herol, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. I'm going to get you on in a couple of months' time, and we'll have another. We'll just grab the whole thing.
Yes, we'll do that. We'll actually go through the Julian Jackson fight.
No, listen, I don't. Listen, I was there in Spain. I don't want to go through with it, and I was on the safe side of the ropes.
I forgot about him.
Oh.
Okay, thank you very much.
Herol, thanks so much for taking a bit of time to speak to us tonight. Herol Bomber Graham, arguably the greatest British fighter never to win a world title. I mean, he's a fantastic fellow. I mean, he was just pure class. And the list of fighters who didn't want to fight him is amazing. They'll sit here and they'll tell you the truth. Nigel Benn, Eubank, all of them. They don't want to touch him with a barge pole. And I understand why, because they couldn't hit him with a hand of sand.